Hello everyone, playing a little bit of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Taking the Mark II carbine out. I want to talk about an interesting topic. The idea of a brush gun. The idea of a brush gun is simply a carbine length lever action, and a particularly heavy caliber such as 45-70 government is generally the accepted definition, in my own experience. And this game happens to offer a carbine length lever action in 45-70 government, the cartridge of which is one of the most recommended for a brush gun. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The carbine length is generally accepted in order to make it more practical moving through heavy brush, with the heavier cartridge with its heavier grain bullet being able to power through that cartridge, that brush, at relatively short ranges, which is to be expected in the kind of circumstances you would want a brush gun, such as moving through heavy brush, either to contend with a deer of a lifetime you want to take, or a particularly angry animal headed your way. Oh dear. Generally, the heavier cartridges are favored, as they will power through that brush a bit more effectively. However, 45-70 is not the only recommended cartridge. 35 Remington is also frequently recommended, at least in my own experience. Shouldn't have pressed that corner. I did, and that's what happened. Let's drop this cluster strike in the middle of the match and get back on topic. Alright, cool beans, cool beans. The version I'm using in game of the Mark II carbine has an 18-inch barrel, which to my knowledge is still considered carbine length. Carbine length rifles are more practical in the brush. The heavier cartridges means it's less likely to be severely affected in the standard ranges you would expect to find moving through brush of 50 yards and less. However, it can be quite difficult to see said target in heavy brush, so I generally find it disagreeable, but I can see the advantages of it. Just like it can be much harder for you to see your potential quarry. Your potential quarry may also have an equally hard time seeing you. Also, particularly intelligent deer will know to stay in locations where there's plenty of color and cover, such as the brush would provide. Let's drop some claymores here and then move on out. I do not generally recommend claymores as a hunting implement. Oh dear, I shouldn't have pressed that corner. I did. Now it's spotting me out in the open. Oh, it didn't help them that much. Oh dear. Well, let me swing around this corner. 35 Remington, as previously mentioned, and 45-70 are generally accepted. However, there are those who recommend, say, a pump gun using 12-gauge slug, which I imagine is just as effective. Let's say 35 Remington. Although it's generally accepted that a brush gun is a lever action, just like a scout rifle is generally accepted as being a bolt action. Generally, short-length pump guns are generally considered in the field of, say, a truck gun, which I have another video coming up on. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Generally, 45-70 is, I would not consider it a long-range cartridge, but at 50 yards through heavy brush, it's perfectly acceptable. Oh dear, oh dear. Delivering some suppressive fire with a lever action. Not the most successful venture, but if it works. Oh, the Mark II in-game is referred to as a DMR. However, it starts with a rather short barrel for shorter ranges, but you can get a longer barrel for it. You're working with the DMR and leveling it up. But generally, in the idea of a brush gun, you want it to be of shorter length in order to take advantage of its moving through the brush. As in the brush, a longer barrel can be impractical, if not impossible, to effectively use. Especially when there's no guarantee of where your potential target's going to be. I have a red dot sight on the Mark II in the game, and a tactical laser. Tactical laser and a red dot useful for all those commando deer out there, if you're interested in using it in real life on your particular brush rifle. I currently do not own a brush rifle, but I am generally familiar with the concept. Let me move around the corner here, just take a peek. Oh, he had the advantage there, but I still won. Oh dear, just bringing that strike down on me. I have pink camo. I'm not sure whether that'd be particularly useful in the brush, but in game I find it to be quite the lovely color. So thus far, every weapon I own in the game, when I can, I put it in pink. Go beans, go beans. Oh dear, it's not really helping them. Coming around that corner one at a time for me. How pleasant of them. Should always be grateful for a free kill. Oh dear. In these videos, I tend to leave the gameplay in the background in case you're more interested in that, instead of my ramblings on various topics I find interesting. Oh dear, it appears they're about to try to rush that corner. Or that one, I'm not quite sure. The disadvantages of hunting in the brush was, just as briefly stated, it's relatively short range, and there's no guarantee you'll see the potential quarry till you're right on top of it. And this is a particularly angry animal, you may not even have time to prepare yourself to take that shot. So, a heavier cartridge doesn't do you much good if you miss anyway. Because you were right on top of them, they were right on top of you. So by the time you thought to bring up that brush gun, it was already too late. It's why the concept is quite disagreeable to me. But for those who happen to find it agreeable, I can understand the advantages. Just the disadvantages are not particularly savory to myself. Well, I do not believe in particularly long-range shooting. Let me try to take out this counter UAV here. I still, if I can help it, try to put distance between me and a potential target. Just out of my own personal preference. However, I think it's more just like a clear line of sight. However, you cannot always acquire that, so I do understand. I am quite aware that there's no guarantee you will be able to have a clear line of sight even if you're not hunting in brush. So while I do plan to eventually own a brush rifle for the sake of having one, if I can avoid brush, I will. Oh dear. Although the contrary to that is I do enjoy moving through forests, which does have a lot of brush in it, so there's that. For those who are interested, I have a YouTube channel, DSR, in which I put up these shorter videos. I have a second channel where I put up streams, just my personal account, Douglas Scott Rivenbark. Just wanted to chat a little about the concept of the brush rifle while I play. Alright, thank you for your time, and I guess I'll be seeing everyone around.